Welcome to the Unblocked Podcast Network. We have a special tonight, a Florida State Seminole special. And I've got Pete with me and Danielle. We got the chop. Coach and Keith tell me I'm on the FSU bandwagon, so I figured I'd just jump completely on the bandwagon and have you guys on to do a little bit of talk about Tallahassee, FSU, and your love. And that's where I kind of start, Danielle. When did you realize Florida State was the school for you? A, and B, I guess, where'd the admiration come from? And I know this answer, but if you could just share it with our audience.
Well, I am the first to be born in the state of Florida. My family is all from South Alabama. My father was all-state at Dothan High in football. Actually practiced briefly under Bear Bryant, but Bear Bryant, I guess, told him he was too small. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, moved to Tallahassee, and he moved to Tallahassee, him and my mother, and they had me. So I'm the first that was born here. And he got a job in the Florida Highway Patrol Auxiliary as, field security, stadium security, stuff like that. And so he was also one of Coach Bowden's escorts. Not the Mr. Smith, but, you always see 2 to 3 coaches around. 2 to 3 officers around any coach at a given time. So he would take me a lot to those games back in first ones I can remember. I'm not going to tell my age, but but the first one I can remember would be the 80s. Great, phenomenal years, and you watched a program being built and a legacy, and it's completely impossible not to fall in love. Some of my friends love Tallahassee. It wasn't even an option for me to leave. I went to Florida State and graduated with a dual bachelor's degree in communications and political science, and then I only applied to one law school. And that was a gamble. It was such a gamble. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to be here. So I graduated from FSU College of Law in 2003.
That's awesome. Pete, what about you? Where did it all start for you?
It was a little bit of a different journey. This is going to kind of surprise you, but I grew up as a Hurricane fan, having come from South Florida. Believe it or not, yeah.
Can't believe you're admitting that on the air.
My youth was always spent watching, the Schnellenbergers of the world, the Jimmy Johnsons, until I got the opportunity to visit Florida State. And I was thinking about going away to college. In about 87, right before 87, I actually came to visit Florida State. I was accepted at University of Florida and Florida State. I came to the campus, I visited, and I fell in love because really the people there were just so genuine, so nice. I loved the scenery. I loved everything about it. And, it was just a great fit for me. I didn't want that big college experience like University of Florida. All of my friends were going there. I went to a game. I got to mingle with some of the students. I went on the tour, and it was meant to be. I fell in love with it. I loved it. It was just great. I was one of the first ones from my family, ironically, to go through the whole process in college. My older sisters came to school down here in Miami-Dade, Broward, and I was the first one to go away, and I stuck with it. And I actually did everything on my own to kind of get myself to college because I knew that's what I wanted to do. And of course, Pete the Greek, right? So we had a family hardware store when I was younger, and I was not going to go into the family business. I ended up getting my degree in political science, Florida State. I then went on to get my MBA, and I'm vice president of operations now for a company that actually manufactures and services all the Home Depots in the U.S. So that's kind of my background.
That's pretty awesome. Danielle, what's it like on the ground in Tallahassee right now? Because we were talking about on an earlier podcast, the buzz in Detroit and Ann Arbor, and how just people are, they got their chest out a little bit. There's a little pride going on up there. What's it like in Tallahassee right now?
I've been through this for so many years. It's most definitely buzzing and hype right now, to say the least. The games are completely amazing. I can't wait to go on Saturday, especially since it's homecoming. But yeah, no, I mean it's completely all a buzz about. But if FAMU is doing so well, also, so Tallahassee is legitimately just a football town right now. Like, no, I don't. I'm not saying anything about other sports, but I mean for this season right now with what's going on. And they're just all a buzz. At the same time, we've been through this a lot, and we're well aware. Our fan base has, I guess, been more. They're just scared sometimes. Some of them, not most of them, but some of them are scared sometimes and like to critique games thoroughly and stuff like that. And I understand that, but at the same time, you have absolutely no reason not to be completely optimistic, and the majority of the town is. I mean, it's a definite. You'll definitely see more garnet and gold around here these days than
Well, sure.
anything. But it's fun. Good times. I mean, it really is.
What are? Yeah, I think it's great for the economy, right? The restaurants everywhere is probably packed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your guys' favorite memories, whether it's college or a game? I remember a couple special seasons that I worked with my uncle for ESPN, and we'd come over there and was talking to Ronnie Cottrell right before the show about the '93 championship, and he told me, he said the reason that we won that year is because we had great people. They were not only great players, they were great people, and I think you guys honored them last week, was it?
Yes. Yeah. At halftime, yes, they honored the '93 team.
So what's some of your favorite memories? You go ahead and start, Pete, and then Danielle can go after you finish.
I would say, well, culturally, Bobby Bowden set a standard. I know that Norvell always talks about the standard, but I've had the opportunity to meet Coach Norvell, obviously the engineer of the program behind the scenes. I've gotten to meet, Alford and actually hung out with him. And, they are very much set in that recreating that culture, restoring the legacy, if that's what you want to say. Our brand is a little bit different, right? Because Bobby Bowden really put us on a pedestal, and the pedestal was really that bar was set so high for a long time. I mean, my college experience, I think I might have seen 3 or 4 losses in my whole college experience. It's amazing.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
And here's what I'll say: my experiences at Florida State were Saturday mornings, every other Saturday, and Danielle will appreciate this. Next to Garnet and Gold, there was a small barber shop. And I know that you remember that small barber shop, and everybody in the town knew each other in that barber shop. And I would go in with my buddy Jack, and we just, we'd get our hair cut, at $10, I don't know, it might have been $5 back then, haircut, and everybody, the buzz was always about football, what was going on. And I could remember the guys in the chairs. Son, did you see that kick over there? Did you see that, boy? And it was just like that. I'm telling you. And those were some of my fondest memories, because I remember them saying, "Hey, Pete, where are you from, son?" Say, "I'm from Miami." "Ooh, Miami. Oh, is it true what they say about Miami Vice?" And it was hilarious, because you were larger than life, for these folks, and they were just the most genuine people. You felt comfortable. You went in. They made you feel like you were on top of the world, and that was Tallahassee for me. Those were some of my fondest memories. Really, and I made great friends along the way. I mean, I still have all my fraternity brothers, people that I've met along the way. And this is, I won't age myself, but it's a long time after, and we still keep in touch, and we still see each other at games. So those were some of my fondest memories, really.
That's awesome.
Hand it off to Danielle. I'm sure she's got some for us too.
Oh goodness. Honestly, not only just my dad, working the field would be for the 1989 team. I've already explained, my memories with that team, how awesome they are. That was probably one of the first teams I really just was like, wow. It was building a legacy leading into 93, and you could tell it. But my mother also worked for the university attorney's office here. And I remember before she became a judicial assistant to a federal judge here in downtown, and she would take me occasionally to work. And the first time I saw Westcott, it's just gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous campus. You fall in love with the people, like Pete's saying. It's a lot of little. Tallahassee is considered big, I guess. I mean, we're the capital of one of the most populated states in the nation, but a little known fact about Tallahassee is we are not. And if you were born and raised here, you know that. Everybody knows, everybody talks about stuff still. And it's little mom and pop places like that. It's the little places around campus that make all the differences in the world. And then getting to go there, and favorite college memories. I don't even think I could count, honestly. There's just too many. It's a true like sister and brotherhood among the graduates and the people who have gone here. I still talk to my classes too, Pete. I still like my classmates.
Isn't it? It's funny, Brian. I could tell you, like, relating to Danielle, we had this buzz during the games. Like, we would tune everything out. We wanted to focus on the game. Our student body, for Danielle and I, we were so into the games that we were just like, I want to get there early. I want to see pregame. I want to watch the game. And, it was just one of those experiences that you almost got, the chills,
The hair on your neck, standing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Osceola comes out on Renegade, I will promise you.
I think that's one of the greatest traditions in college sports.
The greatest tradition isn't just that, and that's part of this weekend that's really huge coming up, is Native American heritage and honoring our partnership with the Seminole Tribe. Florida State is completely aware of who they represent. They approve everything we do, and they're very involved, as they should be, and I love that. Because I'll even have rival fans, during years we were down or whatever, say, well, you're Concord. No, y'all don't understand what the statue means out front. They were the only tribe unconquered. We are honoring them. It's not about us.
Absolutely.
So it is one of the most beautiful aspects of Florida State University I could even begin to explain.
Yeah.
Well, I think in the 90s, whenever I was there, and you hear that, once you start seeing that, it's like, if the hair doesn't stand up on the back of your neck, I don't know where you're from, but you're not from the United States.
It is larger. It's larger than what you really make it to be. And people, that's one of the things I'll say is I had some friends that came up from Miami with me, and diehard Hurricane fans. And once you experience a game in Tallahassee at the Doak, there's nothing like it. You're just automatically, that's it. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm here.
You will never get that out of your head.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the week before Florida State and Miami play, they will blare that at Miami.
Oh yeah.
It's literally, you cannot take away from the fans and our alumni and everybody. The mental warfare of having to listen over and over and over to that. I love it.
And I lived in a lake, so I could hear it all the time.
All the time.
Right behind. And they would actually, for practice, they'd be blaring it, and another memory for me was Dion, right? So I'd go out and I'd sit. I'd be my buddy Jack and we'd sit in the stands and just watch him take punt returns, and they play the music, Brian, and Dion's always been a ham. Oh, yeah. He knew we were sitting there. He was dancing, doing his little thing, and he was catering to us, believe it or not. He knew we were there. He was dancing around.
He'd do that high step in pregame. He'd just legs straight up, and
he'd be dancing. He'd be dancing for sure.
Yeah. So always dancing. Miami rap, but
let's go back to Coach Bowden, because I know I got to know him through ESPN and my Uncle Mike and my Uncle Mike's charity. He never ever said no to anything we ever asked him. Ronnie Cottrell just told me a story right before we went on. When Terry was at Auburn, Terry would recruit against Bobby, and he'd tell the parents, Bobby's not going to be there by the time your son graduates. And, Bobby was a great recruiting presence. When he went to the living room and somebody told him, your son said that, you're going to retire. And he said, I'll tell you what. He said, I may retire, he said, but I'm going to outlast him. And Terry ended up getting fired at Auburn before Coach Bowden retired. So
he had a 29 win streak, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
So Terry.
What's Danielle? I know you've interviewed him several times. What's some of the things? And I know it's a short podcast, and you're not going to be able to cover everything because he's so special. But what are some things you remember about that?
I don't know. I mean, it was way different growing up and being on the field and seeing him as coach, but he's the same person. And then you get the opportunity, like I did for like 3 years in a row, to go into his home and sit in the famous pink room, you guys know, and talk to him, sitting on the couch. I honestly, it feels like home. It's like going back to South Alabama and hanging out, with my family members. He felt like home. He would always tell funny stories. My favorite was probably when he went off about the fact that Miami and UF didn't have to play each other, and we would have to play them both every year before a college football playoff, and when we were all in the top 5. But honestly, just how at home you felt around him, and what a wonderful person he is, and the things he's done on and off the field for the players. I can't put into words how much I love that man. I wish, it's not. But my favorite FSU story actually came from an interview I did with Coach Andrews at his home. And it was a story about Coach Bowden. When Coach Andrews was hired, the greatest defensive coordinator in FSU. I don't think there's any question on that. Coach Bowden hired him over a Big Mac sitting at McDonald's. I mean, that's Coach. Yeah, that's Coach. That was it. Was keep it simple. Just go in and love on people. Let them know you're real. He did that with recruits and players, and built a whole legacy. Because not only that, he could coach, like his trick plays. Just there were things of war. It's
he's amazing.
He's amazing.
Yeah. For me, it was. I guess I'll just share mine. Is he didn't make you feel like it was all about football. He wanted to know about you. When I met him the few times that I did get a chance to meet him, he compartmentalized the football part, and he focused on you. I got to meet him with my son, introduce him to my son. I said, Coach, this young man's going to play for you one day. And he goes, son, that's great. And this was in the middle. He stopped in the middle of prep for the Penn State game down here when it was Joe Robbie Stadium. And he said, hey, hang on. I'm going to speak to these folks. And he spoke to my son. Said, son, how's your grades? You doing good in school? If you're going to play for coach, you got to do good in school. So he would, he didn't really, it wasn't a sales pitch. It was him. It's who he was.
It was genuine. It was genuine. Everything about him was completely genuine.
What you saw is what you got. And that's how I described him best to all my friends. I said, that's who he is. And Ann was the same way. Ann would stop. She'd stop him in the middle of a basketball game and say, hey, Bobby, this young man wants to say hi to you. He stopped what he was doing and he'd talk to you, and just a good human being. And I think that's some of the things that we miss today. Coach Norvell mirrors that quite a bit because he does care for his players. You could see it. This is about as close, I'd say, as we have to a young Bobby Bowden is this, Norvell. And he is just like that. He cares about the kids. He wants to see them succeed, not only on the field. He's not about that. He wants to see them succeed off the field too. So that's what I love about the program and where it's headed. I really do.
So
agree.
you guys got a big game coming up on Saturday. I know every game this late in the season is a big game.
Mhm.
How do you feel, Pete, going into it? You know,
I'm superstitious. I'm sure Danielle is too, to some degree.
sure.
I don't like to hype it up,
Yeah.
but I'll say this: the Duke team is a very seasoned veteran team. They have a lot of seniors throughout. They don't make very many mistakes. They're fundamentally sound when you see them play. I mean, they played Notre Dame to a touchdown. Notre Dame's not a bad team. So this team's a touchdown away from being undefeated at this point. I think we're going to have our hands full. I think it's going to be a battle. Every that Florida State goes in to game day situation, everybody's shooting for them. So they're going to give us their best game. It doesn't matter what your record is. I always say this, and Danielle will probably agree with me. We always see that Florida team that's like, a tweener team, and they play as probably the best. Last year was a perfect example. So they always bring their A game. I'll say the University of Miami, those are rivalry games, so you have to throw everything out. And points and all that, I don't buy that. The hype and all that. I think if we play a solid game, we should be victorious. I mean, we have what it takes. There's a reason that all of our seniors and some of these folks came back that could have been first rounders. They came back for a reason. So that's my take on it. And I'll say maybe 10 points, possibly. Yeah.
Danielle,
Be the difference.
what do you think?
Personal opinion, Duke was our hardest test. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not diminishing LSU and Clemson. Those are gone. Those were hard games, and we did well. I feel like Duke overall, like Pete's talking about, seasoned veterans, and everything. It's one of the if it's not top defense, in the ACC, I don't know. Florida State, the issue, of course, Leonard, high ankle sprain kind of stuff. I don't even know. I haven't checked or
It
done.
says he's day to day. I looked at it. Game time decision, because they don't want you preparing for one quarterback. They want you preparing for two different
Yeah, they
quarterbacks.
do. And the difference between him and the guy behind him, honestly, Leonard, a dual threat. I mean, he runs like crazy. Of course, the injury would play a factor in that. The other, cannon for an arm, but not necessarily going to run as much. So that's an adjustment for it's kind of a mental warfare thing too on that, with them not announcing. It's a definite issue for the linebacker core, but like Pete and I have interviewed two of the best fathers of linebackers at Florida State, Deloach and Bethune. It'll be an issue for them to make sure that they cover that. Jordan Travis, I think this will be a game where he needs to be a true dual threat because their defense is so good. You have to keep them off guard. At the end of the day, let's be honest, we go through each game and say this is the biggest test for Florida State. I started the season and was like, if we win against LSU and Clemson, both, not realizing Duke would probably be where I should have, but be where they are. But at the same time, this team has gelled together and come together and pulled off things. A lot of people don't understand that because Norvell won't make excuses, that a lot of them were sick during the Boston College game and stuff like that. He won't make excuses. He announced that weeks later. But they find a way to pull it off. They just do. Would I be more nervous if we were playing at Duke? I mean, you saw what they did to Clemson there. They're loud, but Duke's going to be hopping Saturday night. Let's just say that.
I think homecoming and the
Homecoming, yes.
expectations. It's going to
Honoring
be
It's a primetime game. Yeah, you're going to have quite a bit of a buzz in that stadium. I think we've been longing for that as a Seminole Nation. So I think this will be one of those that I'm sure we're going to come and shine under the lights. But it's like anything else. Everybody's going to give you your best and their best, and that's just the way it's going to be from here on out. I'm with Danielle. I'm in her camp. I think our expectations were, hey, let's get past LSU and then we'll talk.
Mhm.
And then, they have that proverbial Kool-Aid that you drink, and then everybody starts to drink that. But I'll say this is a very confident team. When I speak to the coaches, and John, and I speak to Danielle and I have had the linebackers' fathers on our all
Yeah.
FSU spot, and everybody's confident. When you talk to them, everybody's confident. They're talking about, oh no, we're definitely we're getting this one by 14, 21 points. I've heard, and you say to yourself, okay, there is this cockiness that we had before, because we were confident, you know, and they're starting to back it up, and you could see it all the way around. And Jordan's a very quiet young man, and I've had an opportunity to speak with Tony, his father, and he says, "Hey, behind the scenes, Jordan's like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to
Yeah.
get this. It's
He's a
good.
t-
You need
he's
that.
a he's a tough kid. I mean,
He's a tough kid.
he's
Very nice
taken
young man.
he's taken some hits this year, and you think, is he going to go to the medical tent? No, I don't think it's in his DNA to walk to the medical tent that I've seen.
Right.
It's just he's one of those kids that it just seems like he competes, he battles, and he's fun to watch. Very fun to watch.
And I'll say this: there is a confidence, cockiness that they don't take it over the edge. If
Mm-hmm.
if if you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying, they're
Mhm.
not they're not smack talkers. They're confident in what they're saying, and you see it with all of them. And they're very nice young men. Let me tell you, that's the one thing that has surprised me the whole way. When I meet these young men, they're, yes, sir. How are you, sir? Yes, yes. They know, and that's the other part of it that we miss along the way, right? We had a period of time where we were concerned about our players. I know during and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there were a couple, you'll go back a couple of coaches, and we were concerned about, whether or not these young men were going to play because they were in not great situations, you know? And you don't hear that anymore from us. You don't hear about, hey, this kid was picked up here, this kid was picked up there. Nothing, you know? So it's good. It's a good look. It's us as Seminoles, and Danielle will say this too. We're proud. We're very prideful, and that's what we love most about our universities. We can kind of walk around with our chest sticking out and say,
Yeah,
"Hey,
absolutely.
we got a great program here and
Yeah.
great people backing it up."
And that's what he's the culture change and the fact that, like you said, just great young men. I meant
I,
humble,
yeah,
like, and that's what Pete's trying, like, confident and cocky, but humble. Like, it's like
Yeah.
the perfect
yes,
blend.
yes,
It they're just everything. So
yeah,
yeah, and Jordan Travis is a true leader. I meant leader. Like, there's you don't see what he has often, and I've
yeah.
sung his praises since we got him because we needed him.
And,
But
and I've said this to our vice president Alfred. I said, we are so lucky. I trade the wins for the actual look of our university. We can walk around and say how proud we are. We have our degrees from university. You really feel good about that part. That's a kind of a hidden nugget that you don't really talk about, but that really is.
And Pete, we talk about culture and foundation, and you had a tweet the other day on the strength coach. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, Josh he's just a great. He is a hero, an unseen, unspoken hero. Honestly, if you don't have, that's the fundamental base of your program.
Oh,
And remember,
they're with the kids more than the coaches are. The strength staff.
I would say he tackles both the mental, the strength
Mhm.
side of of what they're doing. I'll tell you, I went to that Virginia Tech game when Willie was our coach, and I saw the physical appearance of Virginia Tech versus our young men at the time. and it looked like a college football team versus a high school team in
Sure.
terms of the development of the kids. Now you go to these games, Brian, and you see college, I'll say grown, I like to say this sometimes to my boys, so I'll say it here, grown ass men to actual, kids that are still developing, and even our incoming freshmen. If you look at them, I was looking at Hakeem Williams over the middle the other day, and you look at him on the sideline, he looks like a presence. He's NFL ready. So to your point, Josh is one of those that definitely gets him ready, gets him going for game day. Unsung hero, in my opinion.
He
And,
really,
and
he
Danielle,
really, actually, just real quick, James and I brought that up on a show when everybody was battling about hiring coaches and this and that. The exact game Pete's talking about, where it looked like high school versus college. I was literally asking. I was like, I want to know who we're hiring as strength and conditioning, and then we'll deal with the rest, because that was a huge issue with us. And these guys are huge.
Danielle,
A to Z, Brian. Nutrition, strength and conditioning, the psychological aspect.
we have Ben Herbert at Michigan, and it's the same exact. He's built that foundation to the guys just from one off season look like grown men. After one off season. But Danielle, you were talking about some recruiting wins that you guys had recently in Georgia, I believe.
Oh yeah, we
State of
landed. I
Georgia.
think, and you probably know too. I mean, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we've landed some of the top players out of the 10. It's either 4 to 5. We've landed some of the top players commitment wise out of the state of Georgia, and that's actually a huge point. The big schools have come into the state of Florida for a really long time. Clemson,
Sure.
Ohio State, Georgia, everybody, and taking players. Geography lesson, we're North Florida. Okay, I'm much closer to Thomasville, Georgia, where Charlie Ward is from, than I am to Miami. So, Florida, and we had Kenyatta Watson when he was the All-America director at the time before coming to Florida State and then going to Georgia Tech, on our show years ago. And he said when Florida State was recruiting Georgia well, they were winning games. Like, it was a huge different momentum shift. One thing I have seen Coach Norvell do, we have shifted back to that. Georgia is very important recruiting wise. And I've yelled it for years. Get back in that peach state, Get back in the peach
It's a talent rich state.
Very.
If you just look at it from a perspective of recruiting, obviously Florida's talent rich as well. But
absolutely, I think the biggest takeaway I have from this coaching staff is that they're genuine. They're not going to sell you anything that they're not going to back up.
Exactly.
And I think you could see that as kids come and go. They're very transparent with them. They're going to tell them, whether you like to hear it or not, coach is going to be pretty upfront and honest with you, which the buzz and the word is getting out to some of those recruits to say, hey, these guys are the real deal. They're going to tell you where you need to develop. If you're not ready, they're going to tell you you're not ready.
sure.
And credibility is the biggest thing, right? Credibility for these kids is probably the biggest thing out there. And the parents, too. Remember, we're recruiting parents as well. So Bobby was big on that. He targeted mama and papa. And then he went after the player. So,
Sure.
You wanted to feel like your child was in good hands, and that's what they're getting now, I think. And you're seeing it. We got the potential of being probably a top 3 class this year. And Norvell, God bless him, he came into a hornet's nest. He came into turmoil. He came into COVID. He came into a dysfunctional locker room. He had to overcome quite a bit. And look, he's last man standing now. So we'll take him. We'll take him for sure.
I think we're going to keep him. He's done it.
I appreciate you guys coming on, and hope to have you guys back soon to do a little bit more. Florida State chat. We can talk volleyball. Hopefully my South Alabama Jaguars can get by you guys this year. We did a baseball podcast, and we talked about how we always get thrown in. South Alabama gets thrown in either to FSU or LSU. And it's almost not fair because going against Mike Martin and Skip Bertman all those years, two legends. And maybe we can talk about
We got quite a bit. Danielle and I are junkies. Danielle and I are junkies. We're the kind that we watch, anywhere from women's soccer. We love softball. Leonard Hamilton's our guy. We still, although people get down on him, we don't. We love that. We love the tradition. So that's who we are. We're Noles.
I feel bad just talking about soccer and volleyball number one, and there's so much going on.
Yeah.
I feel bad just talking about football sometimes because there are so many phenomenal programs. And kudos to our AD. He has also not only helped build this football program and the stadium and everything he needed to come in and do, as well as Norvell has done, helping transition from bad times to good times, but he pays attention to every other.
Yeah, he does.
Nobody else left out.
That's one guy that I'll say he is light years ahead
of everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did a great job at Central Michigan. I kind of followed him from then, and he's good friends with a friend of mine, Todd Anson, and he told me, he said, watch how quickly he turns around Florida State when he was hired, and
lucky to have him. We're lucky to have him.
Pretty quick. So
I interviewed him when he was CEO of the Boosters, and then when they were hiring an athletic director, we're all looking at each other, and I'm like, we have our answer. Y'all just figure out the booster part and move him to this position, because he was so. In 1 year, what he did with the Boosters alone would show you everything you needed to know. And then I'm like, athletic director, that's going to be even. And it's happened so fast. It's just, he's such a great person.
All right, we're going to have to hop off here because I think Pete lost his battery. But appreciate you coming on, Danielle, Pete, and we'll talk very soon.
Okay.
Thank you.